I'd like to call the public service meeting to order. All committee members are present. May I have an approval on the minutes from our previous meeting? I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, the minutes pass. We have no items on our old agenda, so we will go right away to our new agenda under public service, number 6. This is a resolution declaring it necessary to improve certain streets between certain termini, 2019 Phase 1 Arterial Collector Resurfacing Program, by resurfacing such streets with asphalt concrete and declaring an emergency. Okay, would that be you, Mr. Moore?
Madam Chairman, members of the committee, this resolution will allow us to proceed with our resurfacing program for this year in the arterial and collector program.
Are there any questions or comments from the committee? Councilman Fusco.
Just briefly, thank you, I guess, is I think in order, because it seems like every year you guys are trying to get this done earlier and earlier. And I remember back a long time ago, we kind of didn't get started till fallish, early fall, late summer.
We feel like
so now I see we're trying to jump on this earlier, and I thank you for that.
Yeah, it's a much bigger program than we had been doing in the past, and also we feel like we could get a better price if we jump out early before everybody else gets their work out there. We're hopeful.
Anyone else? Okay, Councilwoman Amobian.
Yes.
Did we check on the quality of the material that they're using? Because unless I'm mistaken, some of the roads that we just paved are now filled with potholes. Did we pave?
I'm not aware of any of that occurring. There are some roads that were paved up around Goodyear that they're coming off of the brick a little bit, but that was done a few years back by a different program.
What about West Market Street? Was there anything by residents?
We haven't paved West Market for a lengthy time, I would say.
But I thought the part by Resnick School was...
That part was not paved. We're thinking this year we're going to have to do some strip patching in that area because the curb lane is in very poor condition.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Councilwoman Samples? And then Mr. Neal. Councilman Neal, did you have your hand up? So go ahead. No, Councilwoman Samples. Wait. Sims, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just in the interest of reading this easier, I know we're talking about trying to spread out the resurfacing. Could we add another column that just kind of like puts where the ward is, so when I pick it up, I can look at it and kind of see that? Is that possible? Thank you, sir.
Councilman Neal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question was pretty much like Councilwoman Amobian's. I know some folks said that to extend the life of our pavement, that after we pave it, the next year that we should seal it. I know with my parking lot, sealing it lasts longer. Do we seal? And if so, what's the extended, what's the return on that investment? How far does it extend the quality of the pavement? Because that was I remember some folks coming down and saying that they didn't think we did that, and they thought that's why our roads deteriorated a little bit faster.
Yes, we have historically done that type of work. This year we have $100,000 in the budget for crack sealing, but it definitely extends the life of the pavement.
Yes, sir. Not just crack sealing, but just like an overall, and you were shaking your head like you knew what I was talking about, an overall sealant.
No, I thought you meant crack sealing. We have a crack sealing program.
Yeah, well, you know, after you see people do it with their parking lots all the time. They haven't paved, and they have another, like just a skim coat of blacktop put on it to preserve it. Does that work for us on the streets? Would that work for us on the streets?
I don't think it's ever been done. We could check it with other cities to see if they do something like that. We've never done it. We've done it on our parking lots, like in the Kenmore and the Canton Road Business District. but we've never done it on a street resurfacing.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, what is the pleasure?
We would ask for suspension of the rules. We'd like to get started as soon as possible.
Okay, I have a motion for suspension of rules. Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, this will be moved to suspension of the rules. Number 7, this is a resolution declaring it necessary to improve certain streets between certain termini, 2019 Phase 1, an improved street resurfacing program by treating the surface thereof with substances designed to preserve the surface and declaring an emergency. Mr.
Yes,
Moore?
Madam Chairman, this would be the part of our program we do unimproved streets. Those are streets without curbs.
Are there any questions from the committee? Any questions from members of council that are here? Hearing and seeing none, what is your pleasure?
We would appreciate suspension of the rules.
I have a motion for suspension, and I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, this will be placed as suspension of the rules. Number 8, a resolution declaring it necessary to improve certain streets between certain termini, 2019 Phase 1, residential resurfacing program by resurfacing such streets with asphalt concrete 402/404 and declaring an emergency.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, this is the residential portion of our program.
Are there any comments from the committee? Any comments from other members of council? Hearing and seeing none, what is your pleasure?
We would appreciate suspension of the rules.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, this will be marked as suspension of the rules. Number 9, ordinance authorizing Director of Public Service or his designee without the formality of publicly advertising for bids to enter into a contract or contracts with S.A. Communal Company, Inc. for the repair, maintenance of the fire sprinkler system in Canal Park Stadium and declaring an emergency. Mr. Moore?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the committee, this would allow us to do repairs on the Canal Park Stadium sprinkler system. This would also allow us to purchase glycol to refill that system so that it does not freeze in cold weather.
Perfect. Are there any questions from the committee? Hearing and seeing none, are there any questions from other members of council? And I see none, so what is your
Consent
pleasure?
would be fine.
Consent?
Would be fine.
Okay, I have a motion for consent, and I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, this will be placed on the consent agenda. Number 10, and our last piece to come before us, is an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service in furtherance of the city's efforts to advance public health and improve services to enter into a contract with Sourcewell without the formality of advertising for bids for the purchase of a toter, incorporated trash and recycle carts, and associated repair and replacement parts for use by the Public Works Bureau and declaring an emergency. Mr. Moore.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, every year we replace a certain amount of our toter carts just due to the wear and tear that occurs on them from every week, picking them up and dumping them in the trucks. This would allow us to do this year's part of that program.
Okay. Are there any questions from the members of the committee? Any questions from other members of council that are in the chambers? Hearing and seeing none, did you? Okay. What is your pleasure?
Consent would be fine.
Okay, I have a motion for consent. Do I have a second? And I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, this will be placed on the consent agenda. Seeing nothing else to come before the Public Service Committee, we are adjourned.
Thank you.